Personally, I think you're kind of nuts if you're not spending at least some of your time trying to take stock of the current sexual climate that you find yourself in and how that's changed over the last 50 years. It affected your parents, it affected you, it will affect your children. And so spending at least some of your time doing some research and trying to understand what the world thinks about sex, what the Bible has to say about it, is well worth your time. This week in Colossians 3, in our Union series, we are going to do exactly that. And I thought to set the stage, I'd read from this week's Savage Love. For those of you that don't know, Savage Love is a sex column syndicated across independent magazines across the country. Here it is, a recent letter to sex columnist, ethics advisor, gay rights messiah, Dan Savage. A bit of warning, this is some mature content here, but I think this gives you a feel for kind of the confusing nature of modern sexual ethics. Dan, I'm a queer lady in my 20s. My boyfriend and I recently discovered that we are both into BDSM. For those of you that don't know, that's bondage, discipline, sadomasochism. We started some light bondage and spanking, added some role play, and are moving toward heavier stuff. I've spent some time reading online BDSM erotica, and here's what's stressing me out. I tend to gravitate towards stories that include age play, underage girls with older men. I think pedophilia is wrong in discussing, yes, yet I get off on the stories. I can't stop feeling like I'm a huge pervert. Also, what is a good way to introduce the idea of age play to my boyfriend without sounding perverted? Is age play perverted? From feeling like a pervert. Dan Savage's reply, you're already doing BDSM, Flap, so it's a little late to start concerning yourself with what is and isn't perverted. I'm not saying that BDSM is perverted, it isn't in my opinion, but the kind of people who obsess about the supposed perversity of other people's sex lives regard BDSM as hella perverted, as the kids were only too recently saying. All you need to concern yourself with, Flap, is consent. Obtaining consent before anything goes down, maintaining a state of consent once things get going. So are you a consenting adult, Flap? Is your partner a consenting adult? Yes and yes. Then you're free to do whatever the hell you want in the sack. And that includes pretending that one of you isn't a consenting adult. Adults can safely and ethically explore fantasy and role play and things that we wouldn't because they're wrong or couldn't because they're impossible to do in reality. A nice girl who would never dream of actually owning a human being can pretend to own a sex slave without having to forfeit her nice girl status. A decent guy who would never commit the crime of rape can pretend to rape a partner with rape fantasies without having to forfeit his decent guy status. The same goes for age play, Flap. As far as telling your boyfriend about it without sounding perverted, sorry, Flap, can't help you there. It's going to sound perverted and sick and wrong because the scenario you want to explore is all kinds of sick and wrong. Just own it when you tell him about it. I know this is crazy and effed up, but these stories really turn me on. This week at The Line, Sex in the New Kingdom. Does anything change? Is everything permitted? If it makes me happy and no one's getting hurt, and it's all just a fantasy, is it okay? Why not? See you there. Greenhouse Theater, 11 a.m.